We will beat the coronavirus, and we will beat it together. And therefore, I urge you, at this moment of national emergency, to stay at home, protect our NHS, and save lives. Thank you.
Fast forward a year and 4 months, 3 national lockdowns, 4 new variants and a vaccine later, and Covid-19 is still very much with us. From clapping for carers every Thursday evening to lockdown and anti-mask protests, Covid-19 hasn't been easy on anyone. In this documentary, I wanted to step into the lives of 2 people who have definitely felt the effects of this pandemic. 2 22-year-old girls, both living through the same pandemic, but such contrasting experiences of it. I spent 2 weeks getting to know student Liv and midwife Izzy, catching up on how a year in the life of Covid-19 has been for them.
Okay. I'm Liv Mills, I'm a third year Hallam student and I study International Hospitality Business Management.
After a normal first year and half of second year, Liv's now uni experience is not quite what she had planned for herself. With all face-to-face teaching being cancelled, the library has become the most exciting activity Liv's third year has to offer.
All of my uni is online, so we can use the library to kind of get a change of scenery, work with the people, but you can't sit next to anyone at the moment, so you can't do any group work. And just for example, here is where we book the uni library slots, but everything's always booked up. You have to usually book the day before as well, and a lot of these bookings won't be actually attended, so it looks full but isn't always full, so it makes it even harder to get a slot. But yeah, that's kind of the only real bit of uni that we can attend when everything else is online.
So as well as Liv's teaching moving from in-person to online this year, she also shared with me that there has been a dramatic decrease in the amount of contact hours she now receives.
So I've got a 12 till 2 Zoom, and that's about it for the rest of my day, but I only have about 5 hours contact time in the week, so I've already had my 3 hours and that's it for the rest of the week for me, and all of it's over Zoom. So.
And we're on Wednesday and you're done.
And we're on Wednesday, so an empty week usually, but all Zoom, uni, that's how it is.
But for midwife Izzy, the word empty isn't quite the word she'd use to describe her week.
So today I've got another 12.5-hour shift. I was on last night doing 12.5 hours. I'm actually doing overtime tonight because we're so short-staffed. We've got 2 members of staff off with COVID at the moment and the wards are getting pretty full, so they've just asked me to do overtime.
Izzy has been a midwife for almost 4 years now, starting the job when she was just 18 years old. She very kindly let me tag along with her as she got ready for her 12-hour night shift.
So I'm just packing my bag now for my shift. I usually get there about 6:30 for a 7 o'clock start because the parking's just awful, so I have to get there nice and early. I take with me my uniform so I can get changed there, so I'm not bringing the germs from home into work, and then I take spare clothes for after the shift I can get changed to come home. I also take this pillowcase. We were all actually given them. They were donated by volunteers at the start of the pandemic. And they're old pillowcases that after our shift we put all our uniform, socks and everything into, do it up, and then when I get home I'll wash it at 60 degrees so I don't have to touch any of the dirty uniform when I'm at home. I've got my swipe card as well, so when I get into work I can actually let myself in. We're so strict with visiting at the moment that we're not even allowed in the building with our uniform showing. We have to swipe ourselves in. So we were all given these. Everyone that's worked in the pandemic, all volunteers, bank staff, were given these rainbow ones. And then we were also given these with the nightingale lamp on.
So what's this shift going to look like for you?
So I'll park up about 6:45, walk in, have my 12.5-hour shift, don't know what it's going to be like, and then hopefully get a break around 4ish, finish at about 7, half 7, and then I'll have a shower, get straight into bed and sleep.
Because of Covid-19 restrictions, I wasn't able to get into the hospital with Izzy, but she did manage to film some clips for me whilst she was at work.
The time's now 4 o'clock. I've not had my break yet. I've just had a drink, that's it. I've been to the toilet once. We've had 2 query COVIDs in our unit and we have been so busy. I'm awaiting my break. I've been at work over 10 hours now. I'm just on my break and I'm just allowed to take my mask off, which is such a relief. I've got red cheeks. I've been wearing a visor tonight, apron, and I'm so ready for a rest.
When comparing Izzy and Liv's past year from their weekly schedules, you probably won't find 2 more contrasting people. But this year has been difficult for everyone, for all different reasons. And that's why I wanted to sit down with Liv and have a talk about how this year has really been for her as a student.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, kind of like a just finished uni, but it's all been online and not really been into uni, so not really felt quite real, but good because we finally finished, so.
And how has your university experience changed because of COVID? How has it been different to the last 2 years you had?
Changed it in a social way, I think. There's a lot more isolation, not seeing friends as much, and also not being able to interact with university modules or seeing any lecturers in person. So everything's felt kind of not real as such. Everything's all interacting online has been quite difficult, I would say.
And do you feel like it's had an impact on your studies? I think, for my course I was still going in and it didn't have too much of an effect on it, but how have you found your courses has dealt with the pandemic?
I don't feel like I've done worse, but I think the support's been lacking because you can't go into university and have a sit-down conversation with someone. That's been trickier, and communicating with lecturers has been more difficult because you've had to email and wait for responses instead of going into and asking people after a lecture.
And as a student, how do you feel the government has supported you?
I wouldn't really say well, to be honest, and I think with our payment especially, we pay $9,000, whereas it's $3,000 to do online uni and things like that, so they haven't really helped us financially, and I don't think any of us have gotten much support as such as like how to go about it because everyone's been so new to it. So
how have you found this year and not being able to see people or go out and do those things that make you happy? How do you feel it's had an effect on your mental health?
I think the winter lockdowns have been more difficult just because it's like, well, now it's sunny and nice so you can socialise, but it definitely made it worse isolating because you're not speaking to people as much and it's all FaceTimes and not whatever. So it's not been the best, but also I've lived in a house of like 4 other people, so it's made it social enough for me to not be by myself all the time, but tricky, not as easy as it should be normally.
I know it's so great that you've got a garden like this because not everyone has gardens. They're like,
exactly.
Like
a flat, exactly.
Things like that, and I suppose you've got the Peak District on your doorstep as well.
Yeah, which is perfect because I have a car as well, and we can go for drives and just get out and do like that walking exercise we're allowed to do every day. So that was really helpful and I think needed.
The Peak District is about a 10-minute drive from Liv's student house in Sheffield, and with a wealth of walks, viewpoints and reservoirs, it sounds like the Peaks has provided a great getaway for Liv during lockdown.
Just on a walk, which has been really great at the moment, getting out of the house and not doing work in my room. It's been really good for my mental health and exercise, and we're right in the Peak District, which is right next to where we live, and so lucky to have it on our doorstep, especially during lockdown when all you really need is just some fresh air after being stuck inside all the time. So walks are really good, and they're improving work when you can exercise and stay healthy and motivated. So
the importance of keeping active and getting out during the pandemic is something both Liv and Izzy can agree on.
I think it's a good time to kind of like switch off because at work everything's so high pressure and no one really knows what's going on day to day. It's nice to have like a bit of normality. So yeah, just to come out, kind of be on your own and de-stress. I just think it's really good for your mental health as well, just to get out and about, not have to wear a mask. I try and get out every day that I'm not working, and I work 3 nights a week, so I try and get out about 5 times a week if I can. I don't really go out in between shifts because I'm just too tired from what's probably happened the night before, and there's a lot of overtime going obviously at the moment because we're so short-staffed with people off, that I'm in work a lot. But as much as I can really, whenever I can get out, I'll go.
Having experienced the pandemic as a student, I found it so intriguing hearing about Izzy's experience of Covid-19. Kindly, Izzy found the time in her busy schedule to sit down with me and reflect on how this year has really been for her.
I think because it's just happened so quickly that I feel like we're still in it. We've not got over it yet. We're always saying, oh, maybe next month we won't have to wear the PPE, or next month we'll be allowed visitors in. But we got chucked into it so quickly. I feel like we've not really had the time to think, oh my God, like what is happening? Look what we're all having to get together and deal with. It's just been crazy.
And how do you have you even had a minute to stop and process what you've seen, I suppose? Has it affected your mental health in any way, or do you think it's going to be something that in a few years' time that's when it will hit you of everything you've seen?
So I think at the start, the kind of chuck into it that we got, you didn't really have time to think about what was going on. And as the lockdowns got longer and longer and the shifts got harder and harder, it definitely took a toll because you weren't able to see your friends and has kind of switch off from work. It was all you did, all you talked about. It's been good having the consistent of actually going into work and kind of getting uniform on and going to have something to do. But at the same time, I think when hopefully it all comes to an end, I think a lot of people are going to be affected. And we've also had the struggles at home that everyone else has had, as well as going into work and getting on with it.
And how has your experience of COVID been as a frontline worker? You know, I've experienced it as a student from home, and lectures are annoying to do on Zoom, but you know, I haven't really been that affected by it, I suppose. So how has it affected you as a frontline worker?
It's been difficult and the shifts have been awful, but at the same time you do get a real sense of pride that you're actually doing something and contributing something, and the public have been so supportive. And we've had various donations of things like food and badges and hats to keep our hair up, and it just makes you think we're really doing something to make a change. I mean, the clap that they did for a few weeks, when you're at work in the city centre and you can hear the city clapping at 8 o'clock, it does make you really proud, but still it doesn't make the job any easier, I suppose. It's been absolutely mad, and the unknown is probably the worst part.
How do you feel the government has responded to this pandemic for you as, you know, an NHS worker, a worker on the front line? Do you think they've done enough?
I think they could have done more. I think now it's one of those things the NHS has always been there. We've always been at the hospitals caring. We've not cared more because of COVID. We're all doing our jobs. We're all trying our hardest all the time. It's nice to get the recognition from the government to say that you're doing really well done for doing your job. But why has it taken something like this for them to say thank you? And Boris Johnson himself was in hospital and thanked all the nurses that cared for him, but it's where's the proof, where's the pay rise? We don't get paid a lot at all. It would be nice, but I mean, the clapping on a Thursday night, it was lovely, it was really nice. The pin badges we get, they're brilliant, the thank yous are amazing, but when this is all over, we're still going to be at the hospitals working the 12-hour shifts, and if it's not COVID, it's something else.
With restrictions beginning to ease, the future seems just a little bit brighter. For Liv, she hopes to graduate in November with her parents sitting in the audience watching. And Izzy hopes to be able to meet up with her friends guilt-free, no longer worried of what she might be bringing home from the hospital. But the return of normal life may be further away than we expected.
And to give the NHS that extra time, we will hold off Step 4 openings until July the 29th.